I believe it was the NSYNC prophet himself, Justin Timberlake, saying, "It's gonna be May." Hello everyone, welcome to May. It's Ralph from the South. You know who it is, the host that does the most. And I'm happy today to actually be doing an interview with one of my good old friends, pulling in house today from the University of Minnesota. This is my wonderful friend and woman of science, Maram Essawy, a fifth-year PhD candidate in the University of Minnesota's pharmacology program. So, as I say before, when it comes to these interviews, bear in mind that we are in a state where we're doing this virtually. So therefore, when it comes to this type of stuff, if there's any weird sounds that come through, any feedback that maybe can cut in and cut out, bear with it and have fun with this interview. I think it's going to be a wonderful time. So get ready for another episode of Scientifically Sound. Clap your hands, everybody, if you got what it takes. And I'm Kurtis Blow, and I want you to know that
these are the breaks.
Yay! We got it!
Oh my God, who is this?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, who is singing so funny?
Yeah. What we got? We got science.
What?
We got music. Put them together, let's use it. Wait. Let me be the substrate in your ear receptors. And let this not just be one endeavor. Yeah, I get crunk on the science. Yeah, I pull the lever. And with the music, I just hope you say, dang it, clever. Whatever. Bring it, master what matters. All the while my life is scattered. You surge on in general. I guess you're David Satcher. And you bet I got you when it comes down to the laughter. And whatever may come after. Scientifically sound so profound. Gonna convert energy like it's dollar to the pound. Just listen to this while you're making some hash browns. Or maybe later after you raking some cash mounds. Who am I? It's Ralph from the South, who raps out his mouth. And we bring the music to the science that's around. And that's on period. And I just thank you for hearing this Scientifically Sound.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. Friends, Romans, people that use their pipette box left to right versus up and down. I don't know who you are, but y'all are weird. But I am Ralph from the South. I'm the host that does the most, and I ate toast today. You thought I was going to say the other thing, but it doesn't matter. Welcome to Scientifically Sound. Today is a wonderful day, everyone. I have this wonderful woman of science for you, and it's going to be so fun because she's always nervous, but she really is a real one when it comes to science. I'm gonna tell you a story. She's actually a jerk, but I still love her as is. When I first started in grad school, 2017, I was a young warthog, as our PI would say. I was rotating, and I was all set to join that particular lab, and she appeared from nowhere. Plus, she threw a pipette in my mouth when I was on the floor. Give it up for the person that says broccoli is better than Brussels sprouts. Give it up for the person that is an advocate for Beyonce over Taylor Swift. Give it up for probably an Adidas model at this point. Like, she wears Adidas all the time in lab, but we're gonna leave that. You should see her face, everybody. Give it up for my wonderful friend, Maram Essawy. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. Hey, how are ya?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
You know, I'm kind of chill right now, and that's no pun towards the winter weather that we're dealing with. I know it's spring, but it's a fake spring. It's a faux spring if this was like a clothing line. But I'm happy. I'm well. You know, we're getting into the summer part of things, I bet, soon. I hope. The
Very
sun.
soon.
And you know what that
really
means.
Warm next week.
What?
It's going to be really warm next week on Monday.
I'm so ready.
2 days. Yeah.
But you know what I'm excited for?
What? Lunch outside?
That, but also when summer hits, all the undergrads go away.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, my God, that's going to be amazing. I'm so ready for them to start undergrads.
Oh, my goodness. Now,
The number of undergrads that I walk past that have their mask pulled down is just, like, why? Like, just pull it up. It's not, like...
Oh, I'm not gonna get you started on your COVID stuff.
In the student union, you'd walk around and they're just like, they're not even eating. They're just on their laptop and they just can't handle keeping their mask on their face. Like, why is this so hard?
It's craziness. Now, I introduced you, but only you can introduce yourself as you want. So tell us about yourself, who you are, who you rep. Go right ahead, Maram.
Okay, well, I'll start by saying you made a comment about people that use the pipette tip box from left to right, and that is me. Sometimes. Yesterday, the last pipette tip box I used was from left to right. But backing up, I'm Maram. I just needed to make a comment on that because it stuck out at me when you said that. I'm Maram.
She's super giggly, everyone. Someone get her. Someone get your mans. Get your mans. She'll always say that somehow. Go ahead. It's okay.
Well, you're gonna cut all of this out.
I'm not cutting it out. I'm keeping it.
All right. So I'm Ram. I am a 5th year graduate student at the University of Minnesota in pharmacology, just like you. We're all in the pharmacology program. I live in Lakeville, Minnesota. I've lived in Lakeville since I was 10. I've been here since 4th grade, so I'd like to think that I grew up here. But before Minnesota, I lived in Georgia and Tennessee. So we have Georgia in our past in common. But I can't mention where I grew up without saying that I originally am Egyptian. My family's from Egypt. They came here when they got married, and my brothers and I were born here, so we're all first-generation Americans, but our roots are Egyptian. And that's me.
I love that a lot. So, first off, everyone, she reps from Egypt to Georgia to Tennessee to here, and yet she never has left Minnesota, though she really loves the heat. So
yeah, I don't like winter. So.
She's an anomaly. I don't know why she's still here, but you know, it's okay. We're glad you're here, though.
Yeah.
So tell us, what made you get into science? What made you want to do pharmacology? When am I going to have to call you Dr. Essawy? All the things.
Alrighty. Well, what made me get into science? I did take a lot of science classes in high school. But actually my 2 favorite courses, or like classes, were science and history. And I love them both a lot. And the reason I like both science and history is because they help us understand the world around us. With science, you understand your own body and why the things that happen in your body happen, and how things in your body go wrong, and how you can therapeutically intervene to fix things that go wrong in your body. And history is the same, but like on the large scale with the whole world. You get to understand why the world is the way it is and what things happened over time to lead to the situation we're in right now. And of course, you also use history to learn about what's happening now, and what you can use history to learn about what may happen in the future. So it's just this general understanding of like the world and our place in it, and how things are and how they work. And so going into college, I actually had no idea which one I was going to major in. I couldn't decide between biology world and history world until I was scrolling through the classes list, and I saw this intro to biochem class, and I was like, why not sign up for it? I signed up for it, and I really loved biochem, and it was so fascinating to me. And so I decided I'm going to major in biochem, and that was the end of history world for me. And I moved on with biochem. I loved biochem for all of undergrad, but by the time I joined a biochem lab for research, I started realizing that biochem was. Biochem can be a lot of things, but the lab that I was in was a lot more structural, and I didn't want to really be in structure world. I like more pathways and signal transduction, and so I didn't really want to stay in structure world so much. So I started thinking about other worlds of biology, and the pharmacology program was introduced to me. And pharmacology basically is what I the basis of pharmacology is what I loved about my intro to biochem class, where we learned about like the pathways and like the underlying biology of our bodies and of certain and so pharmacology is one step further. Besides just understanding the system, you are also learning and thinking of ways to therapeutically intervene, and that was the next step past biochemistry. Biochemistry classes or the biochemistry introduction that I had, that was the next step that I really enjoyed, and that's what I wanted to go into, and that's how I ended up in the pharmacology program.
How lovely.
I still like history.
Oh, we know. You're very knowledgeable about different histories, especially as of late with disease and a certain pandemic that's around. But of course, since you brought it up, since you go from left to right in the pipette box, we have to know, what kind of vibe are you on this week? What were you playing in lab? What were you thinking about? What was in your head the entire time?
Okay, this whole week flew by like 2.5 days. It was a crazy rush of a week. I was doing a lot in the lab, and the vibe is exactly like either a drum roll that's just getting faster, 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 louder, 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 or like the part in a song leading up to like the beat drop, where again it's getting faster, 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 louder, louder, louder. This whole week has just been like that.
Yes. I'm so glad you did this. Wait, so it's just getting, it literally looks like drumline tests where they're just like, got you.
But there hasn't been a beat drop. There hasn't been like this big event. It's just been that anticipation and that like that excitement and nervousness all leading to something. And I don't know what that something is just yet, but that has been the vibe this week, is just increasing intensity.
What's going on in the lab? Why is it increased intensity?
A lot is going on in the lab. I'm just doing a lot of experiments right now. But when are we not?
You're not wrong. I mean, credit, I mess up experiments sometimes. So, like, there's a negative part of that, but also that the drum roll for me is slowing down because of failure. But that's okay.
Well, I almost failed on Tuesday. I was purifying protein, and I got to the resin part, the chromatography part, and I found out that I've been using cobalt resin for this purification ever since I joined the lab. And I found out we're out of cobalt and we have nickel resin. So I had to figure out how I'm going to use nickel resin. Then I had to make all new buffers for everything. And that was probably the beginning of the drum roll. It's like, make all the buffers, make all the buffers, make all the buffers, get the pH right, use the nickel resin. And it just didn't stop after that. It just kept getting more intense.
When in doubt, everyone, order everything ahead of time. Just make sure you have everything set beforehand. And that actually should be our inspiration for today. Only because, okay, everyone, during this pandemic, it is very hard for laboratories to get what they want in a necessary amount of time. And because of that, we have to order ahead. And so for all of you out there, it's like getting groceries. So like if your mom comes in and looks in the fridge and be like, hey, milk is halfway out, I'm gonna go and buy milk like ahead of time, versus just like waiting till the very end when your milk is almost gone. It's like, shoot, I gotta get more. And then they're out of milk at the freaking grocery store. You're freaking out. It's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my cereal and oatmeal? For us, instead of milk, it's gloves and pipette tips. So understand that. I think always be proactive of things that you use every day. But nevertheless, with all the things that you're doing in the pharmacology department and, of course, research, what are the future goals that you have? Whether it's short term, it can be as short as like tomorrow, or it can be as far ahead in terms of long term as like 5 to 10 years from now. Who knows? Maybe you meet Beyonce during that time.
Oh, I would love to meet Beyonce. I haven't met anyone famous yet. Fun fact. I'm still waiting for the day that I'm going to meet someone famous, but I don't know if that's a goal for me.
That could be a goal.
It would just be a nice
that's totally a goal.
It would just be nice. My current goal that I'm obsessed with is graduating. I want to graduate this year. In order to graduate, well, before I graduate, it would be really, really nice if I also published a paper or two or more, but who knows? I really would like to graduate.
Y'all hear her?
I really want
Department.
pandemic to end. Sorry, what?
I was like, you hear that, department? She's putting her heart out on the line. I want to graduate. Let me graduate.
Well, Colin actually just emailed me this morning at like 7 in the morning asking me about my anticipated graduation date. So like he's like also, it must be on his mind too. Maybe like the obsession in my head somehow like went to his head.
And
like,
everyone, Colin is her advisor, by the way. But that's hilarious. Also that he emails you that early in the morning. I would love if my PI would just be like, hey, 6:30 a.m. while I'm drinking my coffee. You want to graduate? Like when? Now, please?
I'd really like to be out ASAP. No, not ASAP. I want to have a happy journey to the end of my thesis and to the end of my graduation.
And what do you want to do after?
I'm messing up on my words. After that, well, by then the pandemic's going to be ended, hopefully. And so I would really like to take a really nice long trip to Egypt. And then I want to work, and I want to continue to do exciting and fun science. I like bench work, so I want to stay in bench work world. I don't want to leave the bench. I don't know about academia versus not academia yet, but I want to be happy, and part of being happy involves a nice work-life balance, and that's important for my future.
Wow, that whole transition just... I don't know if I'm going to do academia, industry. You know what really matters? Work-life balance. Hold up. When did we have to get to that part?
I basically made my decision right there. I'm open to anything, but I want to be happy, so...
I think that is the most important thing. To be happy. What's the use of having all that money or having all this fun stuff happening around you if you're not happy?
Yeah. Or doing groundbreaking science if you're also like not doing anything else to bring you joy.
Right. And with that, I think that definitely needs to be another lesson. So besides ordering ahead and being proactive, you must find something that is happy to you. Do not do anything that is great, like for popularity or for fame or whatever, but you're not enjoying it. It's literally, I think it's absolutely necessary. And a lot of people go into this world thinking that. And, you know, I will do it because I'm doing groundbreaking research, but I'm sad. And not because my cells got infected with something, you know. But that's another story for another time. With that, how about we take a break and we'll be back.
Okay, we take a break.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the episode with Maram Essawy to talk about our lives and scientific endeavors. The song for the sound for this episode is coming into a new generation of artists. So a lot of the time I like to throw things back, but you can't just forget that there are some new people or wonderful artists that are breaking ground right now. So I want you to listen to Green by the artist KAINA. This is off of her record, actually her debut album called Next to the Sun. We're headed to Chicago. She's a pop, she's soul, she's R&B. And she brings in her roots, having Guatemalan and Venezuelan roots actually, all tied together in one album. It's a beautiful piece of music that I think that everyone would enjoy, especially as we're getting to the summer months. So check that out, and let's get back to the show. Clap your hands, everybody, if you got what it takes. And I'm Kurtis Blow, and I want you to know that...
These are the breaks.
Yay! We got it! Oh, my goodness. Now, for everyone out there, today we are talking about the breaks with Kurtis Blow. If you know how I am in Scientifically Sound, I typically will give you some history. I want to give you some background, but I'm first going to tell this story because my mom and dad hate I tell this story. I first heard this song when I was about 15 or 16. The reason being is that I was at church. It was the church picnic. And for those who don't know what happens at church picnics, it's just a bunch of old people. There's someone on the barbecue grilling barbecue with those like Jesus sandals. And he has like a weird shirt, or maybe he's wearing a romper, you know, those type of things. There's a big tent and someone's always playing music. But when I heard this song, I immediately was like, oh, this is way old and out of my generation, but way too many church members got up that were probably like 50 and up, and they were sidestepping and everything. And it's like a 7.5 minute song. So the fact that they wasted all that, well, it's not a waste of energy, but it's a very fun song. So I decided to go back to the song and listen again. And this is one of the big reasons why I brought Maram. But before I get into that, let's give you some new things you need to learn, Maram. So Kurtis Blow self-debut album came out in 1980. So I love the 80s. They're so fun. That song, as well as that particular album, became certified gold. It was probably one of the first few albums from like rap and hip-hop that even got that type of ranking. In addition, it introduced the drum break. So for some people who don't know what instrumentation is, it's kind of like you give the drummer some, as James Brown would say, but it's mainly him just doing, or her, because there are women drummers out there, they're just playing riffs and they're playing different patterns here, back and forth. Also, Kurtis Blow was the first major like label rapper. He got signed, and it's kind of awesome because it's like thinking about who gets signed now is like, okay, here you go. But 1980s, there wasn't a lot of craziness or support for rap. It's only later down the line. But now, in terms of how it even relates to why Maram is here, the breaks are things that, you know, it can be positive or negative, but a lot of the song talks about bad things that happen to people, and those are the breaks. But there's one thing that I did not notice he talked about in terms of the breaks, and it's DNA breaks. And I don't like that, because those are the most important breaks. Wouldn't you agree, Maram?
They are. They're the most cytotoxic breaks for sure.
Woo! Tell them. Ha ha. But before anything else, tell me, what was your favorite verse? Because I sent it to Maram, you all. And Maram has never heard such a thing like this. So it was always interesting. I put her onto this. Let it now be known forever. But I put her onto this song. So tell me what lyric was interesting to you that stuck out during that song?
Well, there's two.
Okay.
The first one, immediately the one that stuck out at me was the just do it, do it, just do it, just do it, just do it, just do it. You know, the peer pressure.
Just do it.
And
do it.
I think peer pressure is a lot of fun when it's like all lighthearted, so I just really enjoyed that part of the song. But when I actually thought about it a little bit more, the part that I liked was this whole second verse where he goes, brakes on a bus, brakes on a car, brakes to make you a superstar, brakes to win and brakes to lose. And he goes on and on about basically, like, the way I saw it was just kind of like this two-sidedness of like how breaks can be good and how breaks can be bad. And that really is like one of the things that is really exciting to me about DNA breaks and DNA damage in general, is that it can be good in one context and it can be bad in another context. And so I felt like in a way he was kind of like he literally was singing about DNA breaks, but he wasn't, obviously. But
he should have. But go into what do you mean by when DNA breaks are good or bad and all that? But I guess, why is our DNA breaking? First of all, you got to give us the 411 on this.
Okay, so I'll back up. We're going to start with our cells that have DNA in them. All our cells have DNA. And DNA codes for basically every single thing our cell is going to do, big or little, good or bad. That's all coded for by our DNA. And so if you want our cells to do the right thing, you need our DNA to be intact and whole and not damaged and not broken. But with time, as our body's exposed to different things from the outside world and even from inside of our bodies, our DNA does get damaged. And there's different forms of DNA damage, but one of those forms of DNA damage are DNA breaks. And our cell can tolerate small amounts of this DNA damage because it can repair it, usually. But if it can't repair it, and if this DNA damage accumulates over time, you can then end up with mutations or disease. And one of the main diseases that's associated with accumulated DNA damage is, of course, cancer. So that is a case in which DNA breaks are bad. But if you want to flip it, then you start thinking about how we treat cancer. And one of the oldest, most traditional forms of cancer chemotherapy is using DNA damaging drugs to treat cancer. So just like DNA damage or DNA breaks are bad in one context because they can lead to cancer, they can give you cancer, you can also use these drugs that form a lot of DNA breaks and actually treat cancer. And this type of DNA drugs is actually one of the most traditionally used types of DNA damage or types of cancer drugs because they're so effective. And so that's a case in which DNA breaks would be good. I said DNA drakes. DNA breaks, not drakes.
Don't tell Drake that he's putting out a new album. But wait, so essentially you can use a break to break a break in order to stop the break from hurting us.
Essentially.
That's a whole breakception. That sounds very meta. Whoever can figure it out on our listeners, just let me know if that was correct or not, because oh my gosh, that sounds awesome. So what, I guess in terms of the drugs, and of course you said DNA could be repaired too, like what kind of repair are we talking? Because I see like, you know, a wrench being used in my mind and imagination, but what's in place in our bodies that essentially initiate the repair?
So that's what our lab is interested in. So our lab basically wants to know how our cells repair the DNA damage. And we're interested in all forms of DNA damage, so not just DNA breaks, but there's other forms of DNA damage that we're interested in as well. And what we know so far is that different kinds of DNA damage are repaired by different pathways, but some kinds of DNA damage share repair pathways with other types of DNA damage. So you can use the easier to study types of DNA damage to learn more about the harder to study ones. DNA breaks are cool because there's two pathways that you can think of that we know. We have a little bit of evidence, a little bit or a lot bit. We have some evidence of certain pathways that are used to repair these DNA breaks. So there's a pathway called non-homologous end joining and a pathway called homologous recombination, but that's a lot of science words. Essentially, there's a pathway where you basically jam the two sides of the break together and you just basically smush them back together. So we've got one end and another end, and it's a broken piece of DNA, and you just smush the two broken ends together and make it unbroken. That is a very error-prone pathway. So a lot of the time you end up with deletions because you're not trying to restore the DNA that was lost in the break, you're just smushing the two ends back together. Then there's homologous recombination, and that's where you use another DNA strand as a template to copy off of, so that you basically copy the sequence that was broken. Does that make sense? You use the other DNA strand as a template for repair, and so you're basically
you're following a guide. It's like a counselor, and the counselor's like, okay, you need to do this to be even with me.
Yeah. Versus
the other one where it's like take one strand of DNA and the other and be like, now kiss. And nothing works. Oh man. Okay. But here's the real big question. Yeah. So you said that we take on little bits of damage here and there, and maybe it's a two-part question. So what can actually damage our DNA that's known? Like, I'm pretty sure I know UV damage, and UV damage does things. Like, what are other factors that could damage our DNA? And does that mean I need to stay inside every day and just hide and not go outside?
No, that does not mean that, but you should put on sunscreen before you go outside, which I do not do as much as I should, but that is one way to protect yourself. I actually was thinking of this while I was listening to the song, because I was listening to the song and watching the YouTube video, and they're all like laying out by the pool and like exposing themselves to the sun and getting DNA breaks while they were filming the song. There's endogenous and exogenous forms of DNA damage. So endogenous means from inside of your body, and exogenous means from outside of your body. So inside of our body, there's all these chemical reactions that are happening all the time while our body's metabolizing food or making energy, and these reactions release metabolites or release different chemical species that can cause DNA damage. So like basically this reaction will release something like formaldehyde or aldehydes that can then come back and damage your own DNA. So this is something that happens inside of our body even if you weren't exposed to anything, just by virtue of living. But then there's also stepping outside and inhaling factory smoke or just polluted air. Then there's exposing yourself to the sun. there's smoking cigarettes, all different forms of introducing either things into your body or to the surface of your skin that will then induce or form DNA damage in your cells. But you can tolerate, like I said, you can tolerate a certain amount if you have functioning DNA repair pathways, but unfortunately some people are born without functioning DNA repair pathways, and those people are born with usually pretty severe diseases. So if you think of people that are like they're described as being allergic to the sun, essentially like when they're out in the sun their skin starts peeling right away. Those people are unable to repair certain types of DNA damage that their body forms after they've been exposed to sunlight. There's people with growth deformities or immune deficiencies, people that are really genetically predisposed to cancer. Those are all things that happen when you are born with defective DNA repair. And so we actually, I'm not going to say that. I wasn't going to say what I'm not going to say what I was just going to say. Is that good?
No worry, I'll cut that out. Though that's actually interesting, though, in terms of that. In terms of one, DNA breaks are happening all the time from inside and the outside, and yet our bodies are that tough to like repair and just adjust. And of course, over time we age and it's harder, but it kind of speaks to the beauty of our body. We're able to handle these things, and I'm so glad that you were able to talk about that with me, because one, I am not a DNA scientist, y'all. I work with proteins, enzymes, all the whole shebang. And yet it's wonderful to hear that these type of things, of course, relate to us in the molecular world, but they relate to us now. Just how we breathe, how we eat, what we're doing can all affect the amount of breaks that happen. But you're also, if you take care of yourself, emphasis, you'll be able to repair and still be okay. So in addition to all of this, of course, your research focuses in on particularly the mitochondria. Mm-hmm. Like, what are you learning in your research right now, I guess? So you kind of brought up, I think, mitochondria before, and if you didn't, this is your chance to. Tell us about...
super exciting.
What you say?
I said mitochondria is super exciting, so I'm about to get really excited right now.
Okay, talk to me about it. What are you finding? What are you finding?
Well, when you think of DNA in our cells, most people, when we took biology growing up, or just when we took biology or learn about the DNA in our cells, we learned about the DNA in our nucleus. But what many people don't know until they reach these advanced biology classes or until they study biology a little bit more is that we have DNA inside of our mitochondria. And this DNA in our mitochondria is important because it codes for the machinery inside of our mitochondria. And so in order for you to have intact functional mitochondria, you need intact functional mitochondrial DNA. But this DNA is a lot smaller it's a lot less, the genome is smaller in size and it's just a smaller molecule than the DNA in our nucleus. So it's 16,000 base pairs in our mitochondrial genome compared to 3 billion base pairs in our nuclear genome. So it's a very small fraction of our DNA, and mitochondria are small, and the DNA is, the genome codes for like this distinct set of proteins. And so people historically haven't really cared so much for mitochondrial DNA and haven't cared so much to study mitochondrial repair mechanisms. But with time, we have started to find that mitochondria do in fact accumulate DNA damage because the mitochondria itself is a very oxidative environment. So there's lots of oxidative damage happening to the mitochondrial DNA. Where was I going? The mitochondria has DNA, the mitochondria can get damaged, and people used to think that the mitochondria didn't have any repair pathways, but we're finding now that the mitochondria do have repair pathways, but we don't know much about them. We basically know nothing. We know some. We only know a very little bit about mitochondrial DNA repair, but there's so much to know still, especially because what has been found is that mitochondrial DNA has been associated with resistance to cancer treatments. So chemotherapeutics that involve using DNA damaging drugs. There's been studies or observations that have been made that have linked mitochondrial DNA repair to the resistance to these drugs. And also there is a theory of mitochondrial aging, or the mitochondrial theory of aging, and that theory proposes that this accumulated mitochondrial DNA over time is what leads to the conditions that we associate with aging. So cancer and cardiovascular disease and neurodegenerative disease, and just aging in general, has been linked to damaged mitochondrial DNA. So if we want to understand how we age, we need to understand how our mitochondria repair or don't repair our DNA. And so the mitochondria are really exciting and really fun, and you need to, I think they are a very important part of the cell to understand. And the DNA repair there is super fascinating. But we don't know anything about it, and mitochondria are really hard to study because mitochondria are so small compared to the nucleus, and there's so much less DNA, and that's been the struggle of my PhD.
You hear that, y'all? Maram's trying to make us younger out here. We're not trying to age. We need to learn about mitochondria, just because it's the powerhouse of the cell, but also it has everything else going on in what she just said. Oh my goodness. I'm excited.
Plug the mutator mouse. Can I plug the mutator mouse?
Can you what?
Plug the mutator mouse.
What's that?
So there's a mouse that they made where they gave it a defective mitochondrial DNA polymerase. And just by doing that, they basically made these mice that age super, super fast. So they age within weeks rather than within years. And like if you look at this mouse compared to another mouse that doesn't have the defective polymerase, they like literally look like an old person. They're like an old mouse. They've got like the hunchback, and they've got like these like a lot less fat on their body, but they also got these fat deposits, and they develop these diseases that old people develop. And it's not cool. It's sad, but it's also cool. It's sad and cool.
You need to send me this link. I'm gonna send me the link or whatever the article was of that particular mouse. I'm gonna put it in the actual description so people can check that out.
Okay,
because that seems cool.
It's cool.
Yes. Now, one, I'm excited. This is actually pretty cool in terms of just look at what Maram is doing, everyone. This is actually important stuff that's happening. And not only that, she also does things outside the lab too. So what you be doing outside the lab, Maram? Because you're not like Maram is way more than just a scientist. She actually be doing a lot of other stuff. So you want to tell us what you be doing?
Okay, well, I've been spending a lot of time in the lab these last few weeks, but I have still been making time for my most favorite thing to do outside of the lab, which is my workouts. I like working out. It's fun. It's not as fun during COVID when I can only work out at home, but it's fine. And lately I've been on this whole vaccine videos thing, and I've been trying to make videos to explain away some of the misinformation that we've been hearing about vaccines, because I want people to get vaccinated so we can all be happy and healthy and end this pandemic.
See, she keeps saving us, everybody. Maram just be doing stuff. Also, she loves to work out to the point that she had to move this entire interview just a couple minutes because she was finishing up her workouts.
Yeah.
And she's swole. Don't if you ever meet her, she is swole. That and she keeps waving at me in the hallway and I end up breaking something and she's all healthy. So get me in shape. Well, everyone, this was a wonderful time. Maram, I thank you so much for even joining to do this. This was a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
before we go,
I thank you for inviting me. I had a lot of fun.
Awesome.
And now, if you copy, that's how much fun I had.
Oh my, I feel so loved. That's amazing. Now, of course, if you're willing, share your social media and whatever you want to send, your email, Instagram, Twitter, so people can reach out if they want to see you. You should definitely check out her COVID vaccine videos. They're really cool. So tell us where we should follow you, find you, all that jazz.
All right. So my Instagram, where my vaccine videos are at, are Maram Essawy. So should I spell it out?
Spell it out.
Okay. MaramOisellee. That's my Instagram, and I've got those videos on my IGTV and on my Reels, so please check those out and share them, because I want people to see them, because they won't help anyone if no one sees them. And I have my Twitter, which is MaramOcologist, Maramocologist. It's like a play on pharmacologist, but with my name in it. And I'm pretty sure if you just search my first and last name on Google, my Twitter comes up, which is not the best thing ever, but the easier way to find me, probably.
Awesome. Well, everyone, it's been a pleasure, of course, with you, Maram. I hope everyone enjoyed today's installment of Scientifically Sound. May your Western blots never ever smile. Let us make sure that we are set for the summer, as well as get ready, because one of us is going to be graduating, and I hope that it's you and then me. I'm so happy that you came, Maram. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. I had a wonderful, wonderful Saturday morning with you.
Bye. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the episode with me and Maram Essawy. It was so much fun to record. You may not know this, but I took a lot of her giggling out because that would have cut into time, but it was actually uplifting because when you have one of your own, one of your friends, one of your loved ones around just chatting it up about research or what have you, it's just a really fun time. If you want to follow us and join the fun with Scientifically Sound, you can follow us on Twitter at the sci_sound. And you can follow us on Instagram at Scientifically Sound. There's so much more fun that's coming out in terms of what's in store. I will still be telling stories. I will still have other people on. It's really a jam. So thank you for just participating. Rate, subscribe, share us with your friends, your loved ones, just to get your music and science and history fix in. Other than that, get some sunshine, but not too much sunshine.